All right, everybody, stay calm. Now's not a good time to lose your head. How you going? Welcome to my review of the Expanse Season 1, Episode 4, CQB. So the episode begins and Miller's looking at a corpse that he's found on the streets after the riots. The coroner tells him that the average lifespan of people on Ceres is way lower than Earth or Mars. I think it's like in the hundreds for Earth and Mars, and it's only like 60-something on Ceres. So Miller finds out that this corpse is one of the suitors for Julie Mao on her dating profile. And they extract his data from his ID chip, and his name is Busy Batiko. So now Miller has another lead to follow in his hunt for Julie Mao. So then we go to the Donnager, where Holden is on the bridge with Captain Yeo and the interrogator guy whose name apparently is Lopez. So they want Holden to recant his blaming of Mars for the destruction of the Canterbury, and they want him to blame Nagata instead, and he refuses flat out. So the ship that was decelerating towards the Donnager actually turns out to be 6 separate ships, and they attack the Donnager. So this scene has a little bit of foreshadowing in it, where Captain Yao is like very overconfident, almost to a fault. And then we see Avasarala being briefed by the Navy. They're telling her how many ships are attacking the Donnager, and this kind of rules out the fact that they could be Earth ships. So they're not Earth ships at all. So they're not Martian ships, they're not Earth ships. So who could they be? Who could they be now? And back on the Donnager, Holden's having a bit of a chat with Lopez, and he seems to have a little bit of dome envy. He doesn't like Earth people. He wants Mars to be full of water and blue skies, and he says that he hates that Earth people only care about free handouts and free drugs so they can go about living their mundane, meaningless lives. And this kind of reminds me a bit of Starship Troopers with the whole propaganda thing about service guarantees citizenship. And that's kind of based off like the Roman Republic, where if you signed up for the army and did a couple of tours, you would get citizenship and could vote. And also Mars is the name of Rome's like second most powerful god. He's like the god of war. And the MCRN, which is on their uniforms, that stands for the Martian Congressional Republic Navy. Now that might just be taking off like how the American government is the American Republic and the People's Republic of China and all that sort of stuff. But it also seems like it might be a reference to the Roman Republic. So the torpedoes that are fired by these ships that are attacking the Donnager, the defense systems pops out some guns and like mini guns and shoots a couple of them down. But the gunners are saying that the guidance systems are too advanced for the defensive systems to be able to take down. So this is way more advanced than anything they've ever encountered in the simulators. So then the Donnager's reactor housing gets hit and they start losing power to their systems. And also the gunners say that the ships are too close for the missiles to be of any use. So they have to turn to the rail guns. So that's kind of a throwback to the name of the episode, CQB, Close Quarters Battle. I see what you did there. And then we're back on Ceres, and there's some dude like with a squeegee thing like on the walls. And it turns out that he's got like a sweet ass dot matrix graffiti maker, and it puts up a remember the can't with Holden's face on it. And I thought that was pretty cool. So Miller's going to track down Busy Batiko, this dead suitor of Julie Mao's. So he's going to find out where he lives and see if he can find anything out there. And he gets there and there's people having a party there. So he goes in and he's like, I'm looking for Busy Batiko. And they're like, he's not here, man. He's not here. And he's like, oh, do you know where he is? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, well, I got news for you because he's dead. And they're like, he ain't dead. And it turns out that he's some like extreme sports junkie. And he's been away for 29 days in the Slingshot Club, which is apparently some sort of extreme unpowered flight through space where they have to go around, I don't know, Saturn or something, Jupiter, and like use the gravitational forces to, looks like they have to do the biggest flight they can do without power. And he has to hit something the size of a mosquito's ass. That must be the entry angle he has to make to get back into the atmosphere or something. But he botches it. And now Busy Batiko is dead. So then we head to a new location, which is Tycho Station. And there's this guy, Johnson, and he seems to be the head of a construction firm or a construction site where they're building this ship, the Nauvoo. I don't know how you pronounce it. But the Nauvoo is under construction for the Mormons, the Latter-day Saints. And they're sending missionaries on a 100-year mission to another solar system. So I did a bit of digging and I found out that Nauvoo apparently in Hebrew means beautiful. And it's the name of a town in Illinois that used to be called, previously it was called Jupiter. And there's another clue about Mars. Mars, Jupiter, 2 planets, 2 gods of Rome. So Joseph Smith apparently was the founder of the Church of Latter-day Saints, and he moved to Nauvoo to escape persecution. So the Church of Latter-day Saints says that they want a new foreman to oversee the construction of the Nauvoo, because they say that Johnson has ties to the OPA. But Johnson says that the OPA like just wants human rights and jobs, and that religious people like in the past have done extreme things to get what they've wanted. So then Johnson basically says to them, look, you can either trust me and get the work done, or you cannot. So they're like, So then Johnson says to them that he has to calibrate the sensors on the ship, so everyone has to leave. So once everyone's left, he tells them to point all the ship's sensors towards the Donnager. So he wants to check in on this battle. So I don't know if he's checking in on the battle to like see if they're winning, like if it's OPA ships, are they winning the battle? Or is he just like, what's going on over there? Like, can we profit from this, or can we help out? Or I don't know what's going on with that. So back on the Donnager, and the gunners are saying that there's no match for these ships, either in records of Earth's ships or in records of Mars's ships. So Captain Yo says that she wants all info that they can get on the design and the drive signatures of these ships to be recorded. And then the drives are overloaded, probably because they're using all their energy for weapons, and they basically have to shut it down because they're overheating. And we go back to the cell with Shed and Kamal and Nagata and Burton, and Kamal is losing his mind because he recognizes that the lights have gone blue, and that means that they're in battle, and he hears the hull being hit, and he's like, this is not good, this is not good. So then Shed says to him, hey, Kamal, calm down, man, calm down. Here, have some of this. And he's got the stickiest of the icky. And he tosses it to him, and he's like, careful, because this stuff will go straight to your head. And then a railgun punches a hole straight through the ship, straight through Shed's head. Like so. Now that's a great effect and a pretty damn good scene. So they look around the room and they grab some binders and a door from a cupboard and they stick it in the holes, and then they get this glue gun and they stick the holes up, and then they've got oxygen again. So by now, the attacking ships are like right on them. So they let loose these little containers and they come flying over and attach themselves to the Donnager, and they're being boarded. Hence, close quarters battle. So Captain Yo says to Lopez, like, you got to get Holden off this ship and take the data sticks with all the drive signatures and designs of these ships that are attacking us and get him back to MCRN command. So in the holding cell, Nagata, Burton, and Kamal basically only have 20 minutes or so of air left. So they decide that if one of us is asleep, then they won't use up as much oxygen. So it's like, who should go to sleep? You're a big guy, you're from Earth, you'll use more oxygen. Or how about you? So Burton says to Kamal, like, look, if you go to sleep, I can carry you. Whereas if I go to sleep, you're just going to leave me behind. So Kamal agrees to it and he's like, I want to wake up from this. So I've noticed that the belters seem to have white lights in their visors, like they have the inside their helmets, they have lights that light up their face, and the belters have white lights that light up their face. The Mars people have red visors that light up their face, and this new boarding party, which is people, it's not aliens or something, they have blue visors. So I'm wondering if that's like a clue, like Mars and red, they go together. Belters and white, while they're out, they're getting ice. So maybe the white means the ice. But then it's blue. Like people say that Earth is the blue planet, but then isn't Neptune also the blue planet? And Neptune's also like the god of the ocean. And he's the god of the underworld. And they're killing a lot of people. So Miller realizes that this guy's not busy. And he goes back to the morgue and he gets his ex-partner to come in, and she's like, he's probably got like a lot of illegal mods in his body. So he's probably got an ID spoofer which can trick law enforcement into not knowing who you are. So they do a scan on him. He's got a couple in there. He's got like a microphone inside of his ear, and then they recognize that he's got a data vault in his calf. So then they do this gruesome extraction scene where they get this needle that's like this long and as fat as my finger, and they jam it into his calf and dig around in it and try to get this data vault out of his calf. And that's pretty brutal. So they work out that this guy was probably some sort of a data broker, because he had... they couldn't decrypt the files, but they could tell that they were government files and research and development files based on the file names. And I think this Phoebe asteroid or whatever it is, comet thing that apparently Mars reckons was destroyed or raided, like, wasn't that a research and development site? And then we move to an alley on Ceres, and there's a woman walking along, and she's walking past this alley and she sees like a guy lying there. So she goes up and she's like going through his pockets, trying to find his wallet for cash monies. And then it's Havelock. While she's going through his pockets, he like, and it turns out he's alive. So I guess that iron bar that went through his chest missed all his vital organs. So then Lopez is taking Holden off the ship, and just as they're about to get to the escape vessel, some troops from this boarding party block them off. So they open fire and they're shooting and they're having a big fight, and Holden does a runner. He's like, I can't leave my friends behind. And they're like, no, come back. And then Holden's walking through like a place where there's a whole heap of dead people. There must have been a battle there. And he sees this half-dead boarding party member. So Holden tries to shoot this guy with his own gun, but it won't work because apparently the guns are coded to their suits and they won't let anyone else fire them. So someone else blows his hand off. and the hand's lying there on the ground, and the outside of it like closes in on itself, like it seals it up. And I thought for a minute that these guys were going to be like shapeshifters or something like that, but I think they've got actually like highly advanced self-healing suits. So one of the Martian Marines basically says they're way more technically advanced than the OPA. So it's not the OPA, it's not Mars, it's not Earth. Who could it be? Who could that be now? So then Lopez and Holden head back to the cell where Nagata, Kamal, and Burton are, and they basically say to them, listen, we'll save you, but you have to testify that Mars did not have anything to do with the destruction of the Canterbury. So Holden says to Lopez, like, listen, we're probably going to die, but you got to tell me, like, what's going on? What's happening with Phoebe? And he says that the Donnager was on the way back from Phoebe because they got called out there because there was no response from them. And when they got there, they found that everyone was incinerated and frozen solid to the ice tunnels. And they thought maybe this is like some sort of an accident or something. But then they found out that all the computer cores had been destroyed. So they were like, someone was there to cover something up. And then Captain Yo decides that she's got to scuttle the ship. So she sets condition 0. And that basically means that get everyone clear from the ship and blow it up. So Burton, Nagata, Kamal, Lopez, Holden, and 2 or 3 Marines, I think, are still left. They're heading to the ship and they realize that there's an ambush. Like, there's no safe way to get to the ship without being detected. So they set up their own ambush. And they're like, when we make a break for the ship, you set up covering fire. So it's like, ready, go. And they start running across the ramp to the ship. And Burton gets shot in the leg while he's carrying Kamal. So now Burton's got an injury to his leg. And they tie that off, tourniquet that off. And Kamal's still drugged. He's like, he can't walk himself. And he's the pilot. So that's going to be interesting. And then once Holden and Nagata get across, Lopez gets hit by a grenade from behind and it basically pushes him forward and he's gravely injured. So he basically scrapes into the ship just before they leave. Oh, and there was the reactor on the ship finally stopped working, so they basically had no gravity for a bit and they had to lasso each other and pull each other into the ship. So this new escape ship that they're getting into, the name of that is the Tachi, which apparently means sword in Japanese. So it's a sword of some sort, and it's got some sweet guns that like they fire it at all the people that are standing around the docking bay. And then the captain of the Donnager sets condition 0 and the ship blows up and she says, I didn't think we would lose. And I'm like, see, I told you were overconfident. Kablano! So I've got to say that this is the best episode of The Expanse I've seen yet. I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed the action, the suspense. There was a lot of information given. There was a few breadcrumbs set aside for the forthcoming episodes, like what's going on with the Mormons and whose ships are these that are attacking the Donnager. Good stuff. So yeah, anyway, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe and things like that. Yeah.